Hell pig, Entelodont, history's most brutal carnivorous machine. 66 million years ago, the undisputed reign of the dinosaurs ended in an apocalyptic storm of fire and ash. When the cosmic dust finally settled, Earth was left as a fractured, empty canvas, desperately waiting for a new lineage of rulers to claim the vacant throne. For millions of years, evolution experimented in the shadows, slowly replacing the towering reptilian overlords with small, scurrying mammals that had survived by hiding deep within the underbrush. But as our planet transitioned into the harsh dawn of the Oligocene epoch, roughly 34 million years ago, the global climate began to shift dramatically. The lush, infinite rainforests started to wither and dry out, giving way to vast, unforgiving open plains. And out of this brutal, transforming landscape stepped a creature so horrifying, it seems ripped straight from the pages of a dark fantasy novel. If you were asked to picture a pig, your mind would immediately conjure the image of a docile farm animal, perhaps rolling lazily in a mud puddle. You need to erase that image entirely. Imagine, instead, a monstrous beast standing as tall as a modern-day grizzly bear, supporting a massive, heavily armored skull, roughly the size of a Harley-Davidson motorcycle. Its jaws were lined with jagged, bone-crushing teeth, thick enough to snap a human femur like a dry winter twig. This was the Entelodont. Paleontologists aptly dubbed them the Hell Pigs, a title forged through millions of years of unmatched, absolute brutality. They were not merely opportunistic scavengers. They were towering apex predators, serving as nature's ultimate biological tanks, designed to dominate a broken world. For over 20 million years, these demonic titans roamed across the ancient badlands of North America and Eurasia, spreading absolute terror with every earth-shaking footstep. But to truly understand how this waking nightmare seized control of the planet, we must look past its terrifying silhouette and dissect the terrifying biomechanical engineering that made the hell pig an unstoppable force of nature. To comprehend the sheer mechanical brilliance of the Entelodont, we must first examine the brutal theater in which it evolved. As the Oligocene epoch took hold, the once humid globe rapidly cooled. Ancient, sprawling jungles retracted, replaced by harsh, arid floodplains and the treacherous, shifting soils of the primeval badlands. And in this punishing new world, food was scarce, and survival demanded more than just speed. It required overwhelming, unadulterated power. Nature's solution was to engineer a biological siege engine. At the forefront of this design was a skull so massive and disproportionate to its body that it challenges our very understanding of anatomy. The head of a fully grown Entelodont could make up nearly a third of its entire body length, supported by incredibly thick neck muscles anchored to towering, muscular humps on its back. But the true horror of this creature lay within its devastating bite. Unlike modern predators that rely on suffocating their prey or cleanly slicing through flesh, the hell pig possessed jaws built like an industrial car crusher. Driven by enormous jaw muscles that attached to wide, sweeping cheekbones, its bite force was simply astronomical. Picture the hydraulic press you might see in a heavy machinery yard casually flattening a steel drum. That is the level of kinetic pressure these animals exerted in a single snap. Their jaws swung shut with the absolute finality of a biological guillotine, armed with conical, reinforced teeth capable of shattering the thickest thigh bones of primitive rhinos and ancient camels, as if they were hollow tubes of glass. They did not just eat the meat. They consumed the entire animal, violently extracting nutrient-rich marrow and leaving nothing behind but powdered bone and dust in the wind. This was a predator engineered not just to kill, but to completely obliterate anything in its path. Yet the most bizarre feature of this ancient killing machine wasn't its catastrophic bite, but the deeply unsettling evolutionary family tree from which this monster was actually born. Despite the terrifying moniker of Hell Pig, the most shocking truth about the Entelodont is entirely hidden within its DNA. They were never pigs at all. Nature is a master of deception, often forcing entirely different bloodlines to evolve similar weapons when faced with identical environmental pressures. A phenomenon known as convergent evolution. If you were to trace the genetic blueprint of this Oligocene nightmare, the branches of its family tree would bypass modern swine entirely. Instead, they plunge straight into the murky aquatic world, linking this land-bound apex predator directly to the ancient ancestors of modern hippopotamuses and, astonishingly, massive ocean-dwelling whales. This evolutionary twist explains the bizarre and almost alien biological engineering present in their skeletal structure. The most striking and horrifying of these physical adaptations were the enormous wing-like plates of bone jutting out horizontally from their cheekbones, known as jugal flanges, along with massive, bulbous protrusions erupting from their lower jaws. To a casual observer, these thick, calloused knobs might look like a grotesque deformity. But in the brutal, blood-soaked arena of the prehistoric badlands, they served a highly specific, gladiatorial purpose. These creatures were notoriously territorial and hyper-aggressive, constantly engaging in violent, face-to-face warfare with their own kind over breeding rights and rotting carcasses. Those terrifying cheekbones acted as built-in riot shields, and heavily armored bumpers protecting their vital eye sockets, and delicate facial nerves from the crushing, guillotine-like bites of rival hell pigs. Fossil records are littered with Entelodont skulls, bearing the gruesome, healed scars of these titanic, intra-specific clashes, bite marks and bone-crushing gouges deep enough to comfortably hold a modern smartphone. They were biological war machines, perfectly optimized to endure and inflict unspeakable trauma. But nature, in her relentless pursuit of extreme evolutionary engineering, was not finished experimenting. She was about to push the Entelodont blueprint to a physical scale that defies logical comprehension. Evolution is an arms race with no finish line. And over 20 million years, the Entelodont lineage was pushed to its absolute physical limits. So the climax of this terrifying biological experiment arrived in the form of Daeodon, the undisputed king of the hell pigs. Picture a creature stepping out of the prehistoric morning mist that makes a modern grizzly bear look like a household pet. Daeodon stood nearly 7 feet tall at the shoulder, mirroring the towering height of a fully grown North American bison, and weighed well over 2,000 pounds, heavier than a Steinway grand piano. But the true terror of Daeodon was not simply its massive, imposing size. It was how it moved. Unlike the heavy, barrel-chested herbivores of its era, this monster was engineered for shocking mobility. Beneath that colossal, boulder-like skull were surprisingly long, slender legs ending in cloven hooves, an anatomical setup closely resembling a monstrous, oversized wolf. This meant the apex hell pig could sprint across the vast, open plains with terrifying speed, easily running down exhausted prey or thundering toward a distant, bloody kill site. As the undisputed tyrants of the early Miocene epoch, they engaged in a brutal survival strategy known as kleptoparasitism. They rarely needed to expend the energy to hunt for themselves. Instead, they simply tracked the scent of fresh blood, ambushed other elite predators like the fearsome, wolf-like Hyenodon, and stole their hard-earned meals through sheer, overwhelming intimidation. If a rival refused to back down, the Daeodon's guillotine jaws would make horrifyingly short work of them. They were the perfect apocalyptic scavengers, standing proudly atop a mountain of shattered bones at the absolute zenith of the prehistoric food chain. That they possessed no natural predators and feared absolutely nothing in their domain. But absolute power is always a dangerous illusion, and the very planet that painstakingly forged these invincible titans was about to violently turn against them. But the reign of any tyrant is inherently fragile, tethered entirely to the world that allows it to exist. As the Earth marched from the Oligocene into the deep Miocene epoch, the global climate underwent another violent, irreversible shift. The planet grew progressively colder and significantly drier. The dense, sprawling woodlands and primeval scrublands that had provided the perfect ambush cover for a 2,000-pound giant began to wither away, replaced by infinite, rolling oceans of short prairie grass. For a creature engineered to explode from the shadows and crush slow-moving prey, this vast, open landscape became an insurmountable biological prison. Daeodon and its armored kin were built for raw, explosive power, not marathon endurance. As their traditional, bulky prey either died out or evolved to run much faster across the flat plains, the hell pigs suddenly found themselves lugging a piano-sized body across a barren wasteland, burning thousands of precious calories with every failed, exhausting hunt. The true nail in the coffin, however, did not come from the changing grass. It came from an entirely new breed of killers rising from the dirt. The Miocene saw the dawn of highly specialized, fast-moving mammalian predators. Packs of ancient, bone-crushing dogs, the distant ancestors of modern wolves, began to sweep across the North American plains. What they lacked in sheer, terrifying size, they easily made up for in advanced social cooperation and relentless, exhausting pursuit. Simultaneously, early saber-toothed cats evolved hyper-lethal, surgical killing methods, cleanly severing arteries rather than relying on brute force, bone-shattering power. The hell pig, a solitary biological tank, simply could not compete with the surgical precision of the felines or the overwhelming, coordinated numbers of the canine packs. Starved of the massive caloric intake required to fuel their immense bodies, and outmaneuvered in an open world they no longer understood, the ultimate carnivorous machine ground to a devastating halt. The once unstoppable lineage quietly slipped into the fossil record, their bone-crushing jaws finally silenced by the relentless march of time. Yet, as we stare down at the petrified skulls of these fallen giants, we are forced to confront a deeply unsettling reality about our own fragile place on this planet. The story of the Entelodont is not just a tragic tale of an overgrown monster failing to adapt. It is a chilling testament to the absolute ruthlessness of our planet. For over 20 million years, these biological war machines were the undisputed lords of the ancient badlands. They survived by engineering the most brutal, heavy-duty weapons nature had ever conceived, dominating their ecosystem with bone-crushing supremacy. Yet the Earth does not care about brute force, and it certainly does not care about legacy. All it took was a subtle shift in the global temperature, a slow drying of the wind, and the greatest apex predator of the Oligocene was abruptly erased, swallowed whole by the very dirt it once terrorized. Today, we walk across the concrete plains of our sprawling modern cities, comfortably isolated from the primal violence that forged the ancient world. We gaze down at the fossilized, armored skulls of the hell pigs in silent museum halls, viewing them as alien monsters from a dark, forgotten timeline. But we share the exact same precarious footing on this spinning rock. We have built our own metaphorical armor, skyscrapers of glass and steel, vast agricultural empires, and technological networks that span the globe like intricate spider webs. We feel utterly invincible, perched comfortably at the very zenith of the modern food chain. But the ghost of the hell pig whispers a terrifying warning from deep within the sedimentary rock. Absolute dominance is always a temporary lease. Our global climate is shifting once again, and the delicate environmental balance that allowed humanity to conquer the globe is rapidly transforming. The Entelodonts could not adapt to a changing world, and their petrified bones are all that remain to tell their story. Millions of years from now, when the cosmic dust of our own civilization finally settles, what new creatures will wander the silent, open plains of Earth? And more importantly, when they dig deep into the fractured strata to study the apex predators of our era, what will they think of the fragile, fossilized empires we left behind?